that you're not alone with
Yes.
some of the same struggles, some of the same things that we all deal with.
Yeah. Hello, and welcome to episode 80
Episode 80.
of Yellow Colored Glasses.
It's pretty cool.
That is very crazy. First and foremost, as always, let's read a review. This review is from Kelsey M. The Warren and Mott's agency has been so great with helping us make sure we're saving money as much as we can, while making sure we have the best coverage possible, especially with our life insurance. You definitely won't be disappointed working with anyone within this office. All great people. So thank you to
Kelsey
for leaving us an amazing review.
Yeah, reviews are really good for us.
Yes, they are.
They're the best.
They really are. Today, it is just Jake and Mikayla, the Warren end of the deal. So, peak and pit. What's your peak?
The weather. That's my, okay.
That's your pit?
That's my pit. I'm gonna go there first. My pit is the weather. I'm just not a fan of this weather.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of a taste of some nice 60-degree weather, and then today it's snowing and cold, and tomorrow's gonna be the same. So
Yeah.
Not about it.
No.
That's my pit.
Yeah.
What's your pit?
We were supposed to get dinner with some friends yesterday, or no, tomorrow. And kind of bummed about not being able to see them. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah. But next weekend, well, I guess when this is aired, it'll be the Saturday after this Wednesday.
Yeah. So we're missing out on seeing them on the 17th. We'll end up seeing the following weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was pretty excited about that one, but yeah, it'll be good. But we actually have another one tonight, so I'm actually that could go into my peak.
Yeah.
Is we do have another dinner tonight, which kind of goes into like a lot. I think some of the stuff we're going to talk about today too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say the peak is, and to go back to my pit, the Chiefs.
Oh.
Football being over.
Yeah.
It's a low spot.
Yeah.
But
you're recovering.
The peak is, we won the Super Bowl, so we can hold our heads high.
Yeah.
So, and then we got tonight, which will be a good time. We're going to 3rd Street. We love 3rd Street. It's our favorite spot. And then we have some really good stuff going on at the office with some traction, getting some people coming on. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I would say my peak is 2 things. So tonight we get to see our friends. We've actually had them on the podcast before, a couple times actually. And the other peak is that we're going to 3rd Street Social. Love me some 3rd Street Social. So good.
Heard that.
Heard it. Synced it. Been there too many times. We know the waitresses and waiters there because it's been so many times. Moderately embarrassing, but what do you do?
Sometimes. But what do you do?
What do you do?
So what else? What else we got going on?
So we kind of, before we got started, we very briefly talked about the topic of today's podcast being around the people that we surround ourselves with and the relationships that we have. And so that kind of feeds into our peak and pit.
Yeah. And I feel like that goes into so another peak of mine is we just landed a really big insurance contract with a new insurance company.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of agencies, independent brokers that have access to this carrier. So for us to get it, a couple years into the agency is a really big deal.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. And I feel like one of the things because they came in, met us yesterday, well, we'd met them before, but they came in and officially brought in other people, brought in the adjuster. And I feel like one of the cool things about it is that we're going to be able to just kind of feed off of each other and help each other a lot more because it's more of a relationship type company. And I feel like that's a big deal. And I feel like that's one of the reasons on how we got the contract.
Yeah.
And I think that's really going to help us on the business side, with the client side, from a knowledge standpoint, just everything about it. And that just kind of goes to show that, if you're in the right room with the right people, no matter what the topic is, it's going to be beneficial.
Yeah, that's so true.
So
yeah, I feel like part of the reason that I'm so excited to, get together with, the people that we're meeting with tonight, and then the people that rescheduled to next weekend, I feel like the conversations just look a lot different from other types of relationships. I feel like a lot of the times people get caught up in just the really stupid, dumb things of life, like drama and, just stuff that ultimately doesn't matter. What matters to me is building my future for my family, and I want to be surrounded by people that are going to contribute to that in some form or fashion, whether it's conversations, knowledge, inspiration, creativity, finances, literally if you can contribute to me and I can contribute to you in some way, then I want to have a relationship.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I feel like you're really either moving forward or you're regressing. You're either consistently moving forward and consistently having better conversations or consistently having a better relationship, or it goes backwards. Like there's no in between of stagnant. Stagnant I don't think is even a thing. It's either you're going forward or you're going backwards.
Yeah. I actually literally just read a quote today. It's funny that you say that said the number one sign of life is growth.
Yeah.
That's the pulse, right? So I feel like and it doesn't have to be anything out of this world. Like if you are, I don't know, if you want to be the best stay-at-home mom in the whole world and you're working towards whatever that looks like for you, the ideal version of that, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
For us, it looks different than that.
I was going to say, it's got nothing to do with money, or everybody has a different definition of success, right?
Yeah.
And wealth and all these different things. And it's literally more just about how do you be a better human than what you were yesterday?
Yeah.
Right? How do you be a better, wife? How do you be a better husband? How do you be a better son? How do you be a better friend? How do you be a better leader? All these different things. And, a lot of times, we get to a spot and then we think, okay, we're good in this category, and then we just stop. Well, then what happens is you start going backwards.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not continuing to move forward, then you're not performing at your peak.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal, and it's hard because sometimes you think, oh well, I deserve this. I've done very well over the past X amount of years, but again, you can do better. You've learned more throughout those years to critique something and make that a little bit better. So,
yeah.
And I feel like that goes into some of the stuff that we talk about with again, I think with the conversations that we have with tonight and tomorrow, what tomorrow would look like. But I feel like that was one of our goals this year, was to just get in front of more people and start building more relationships up.
Yeah.
That we can have some pride in, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like we're on our way towards that. I feel like we've honestly, between the last half of last year and then all the way into this year, we've had really good conversations and meetings with people that, historically we haven't had relationships with.
Yeah.
And they're really good quality. When did we meet up with Devon and Andrea?
That was just 2 weeks ago.
I feel like the conversation we had with them was a really good especially there towards the end. We really got into some maneuvering problems in personal relationships. And that was just a really good conversation. I feel like I learned some things. I feel like one sign for me that it's maybe not something that's right for me is not kind of feeling fearful that I can't fully express myself, and I felt like I could just kind of say, and they were just going to take it for what it is, listen, and just fabricate their own response, and then voila, it's a conversation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like that was a really good time, and I feel like, again, those conversations because again, I think people think that you are going to be judged. You know, if you start opening up and you start talking about certain things, like it's like, oh, wow, I wonder what this person's going to think.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it doesn't really matter. Like, you know, like there's a way, like you can disagree with somebody and still have and still have a conversation. Like you can have your opinion on something, I can have my opinion 100%. On something. We can completely disagree with it, but we can still have that conversation where we respect each other's beliefs or opinions.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just don't even talk about those things because they feel like, you know, it's going to upset them, or they're going to be judged, or they're going, man, like why did she say that, or why did he say that? And it's like, man, just if you have the conversation, like it makes you feel good, and then it's like, okay, like this is me, like this is, you know, you're almost looked at it like you're more real than anything else.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it, because I feel like sometimes I'm an open book.
You are.
So
I'm definitely more like reserved and like private.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like scratch that itch, you know?
Yeah.
To like just kind of say, but I also like, I like being private. I don't need everybody to know everything about me. I don't need everybody to like understand me and cheer me on. Like I just need my husband, you, to like be in my corner, and you know, everybody else will naturally learn more about me.
Yeah.
The people that want to.
I was going to say, and I feel like you don't have to necessarily do that, but if you want to open up, you know, I feel like the advice that we're giving here is like, if there's a time where you're like, man, this conversation's going really well, like just say what you want to say. Don't hold back on thinking what somebody else is going to think about what you just said.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, just be you. And if you say it, you say it. And, I mean, if it goes bad, like learn from it the next time or whatever. But like, I just feel like we don't say certain things because of what we think the reaction will be. And I'm not saying to be rude or anything like that at all, but you can still be respectful, polite,
and honest.
You know, and everything just kind of flow. So
100%. And I think the people that you're supposed to mesh with, they're going to receive what you're saying. They're going to receive it well.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can pick up on that. Just like if we're talking to somebody, like we can pick up on, you know, if this person, you know, is like if we can have a good conversation, if we can dive into certain things, you know, like you can kind of just read certain scenarios and be aware, right? So anyways, I think that's, that just comes with time and experience as well too, though. Yeah.
How do you disregard what is happening in society and not, this is kind of like relationship. Right before we left the house, we were talking about the media. How do you completely disregard what's happening in culture and the media and do your own thing?
You know, I feel like you really just have to know what means a lot to you, what you stand on, like what's your backbone, like what do you want your life to look like? Not what you see everybody else their life looking like, or all these different problems that we have. Like control what we can control. Know, you know, you have your character, right? So figure out your character, and then whenever you figure those things out, like just stand behind that. You know, and if somebody has this other opinion, don't let that, you know, take much of your energy, because at the end of the day, like, that's what you would like for them to have, is that you want them to have their character, their beliefs, and their backbone, and stand on it and be respectful of that opinion, just like you would want them to be respectful of your opinion.
Yeah. So 100%.
I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So what about you?
For me, like the practical things that I do, I'm really strategic in what I follow on social media. I follow people and pages that align with my values, even if, you know, their lives look completely different than mine. I you know, they still talk about their beliefs, their values, and their backbone, like you're talking about. And if that aligns with the direction that I'm going, I want to be following them. Yeah.
No, and I agree. And like, I feel like, you know, social media and just the media in general can be, you know, very negative, but it can also be very positive.
Yeah.
Because if you're, sitting here thinking, the way that we were just talking about right now, like, and you have no one else that thinks like that, you start to feel alone. You start feeling like, well, maybe I do need to fall into this because everybody else is thinking this way, right? Well, that's the best thing about social media is that you can pick and choose what you want to follow.
Yeah.
And if you pick and choose the people that, do think the way that we think, not even the way we think, but the way, like, their beliefs on certain things, like with just kind of staying out of certain things and having their own opinion and standing behind that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's refreshing, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's part of the conversations that we end up having with some of these relationships that we're building, is it is just refreshing to hear that you're not alone with some of the same struggles, some of the same things that we all deal with.
Yeah.
No matter what time of their life that it's in.
Yeah.
If they're 10, 15 years ahead of us in life or 10 years behind us in life, like, we all have very similar issues and problems, and it's like, how do you figure that out to handle those problems? Because I don't think they ever go away.
Yeah. Sorry.
Boring.
You yawned at me one time. Probably multiple times.
No.
So I think it's really important to have relationships where people are older than you and with people that are younger than you, because I really feel like you can learn so much from both. Like, I feel like older people, they're going to view things differently than you. Their experience is obviously completely different. And they're wiser in theory. And then the younger people, again, they're going to have such a different perspective on life. And I want to be open to hearing those things, because, like, that's going to be the future. So if I can partner up with those people and establish a framework that I very much believe in, then that's everything.
So one other thing is, I feel like, just because you have all these, like, these different relationships and different, just different relationships, like, you don't always have to get something like some financial gain out of it, right? It doesn't always have to be something about business or your job or your work or anything like that at all, right? It can literally be, and they could be all about business all the time, but there's other things that we can take away from that, as like a commission, right? For no matter if that helps us in our relationship, helps us be a better friend, helps us be a better, like, how to handle, certain problems or anxiety, how to handle certain things like that better, right? Like, those are commissions that you get from being around those type of people, right? The better the relationship, the better the gain that you get from it.
Yeah.
And when we say gain, I don't want people thinking it's just financial.
No, not at all. I feel like a commission can be, like you literally just said, knowledge, advice, wisdom.
Correct.
It can be money, a business transaction of some sort. It could be many different things. Yeah. But if you're not contributing to my life in one of those areas, and I'm not contributing to yours, then, it doesn't make sense.
Well, there has to be a value. Like, you have to bring value to somebody.
Exactly.
Like, if you want somebody to be in your life for a long time, in my opinion, we become adults and as we, get, farther along in our life with families and businesses and careers and all these different things, like, you don't just have as much time just to go out and hang out with your buddies, just because you were friends with them for a long, long time. Like, that's great, and I love that and stuff. But to be on a consistent, to be consistent with that, like, you have to have value. You have to have, when you're with people, they have to bring you some sort of value, and vice versa. Like, if you want to be around those type of people, we need to be bringing value to those people too, because they're busy as well. And again, value isn't just something from a business standpoint or a financial gain. There just has to be value. Like, you're not going to do anything consistently unless that thing brings you value. So we have to think that exact same way with a relationship.
Right. Yeah. What are some key indicators for you that it's not a relationship where there's going to be value added either way?
Ask that again.
Like, what are some key indicators?
Of what?
Like, a relationship not being of value to you or to the other person.
Oh. I mean, I think it just is the conversations.
Yeah.
You know, like what those conversations, you know, what you guys are talking about. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're sitting there talking about, I mean, and I'm not saying every conversation that you have to have with somebody has to have some sort of value.
Yeah.
But if more times than not,
right.
you know, it's talking about drama or gossip or whatever that might be, like, you know, that's okay. Like, but that's just not going to interest me, right? I'm not saying that maybe there is some value that someone can get from that, but for me, like, it's hard for me to relate there. Yeah. So I try to focus on. And again, I try not to judge on that. Like, I try not to, like, because again, they want to have those conversations, that's fine. Like, yeah. But, because I feel like we get, you know, like, you can also go the exact opposite route where when people get super, like, when they get super into anything, like, with self-development, right? Sometimes, you know, people can start poking fun at that. You know, they're like, oh yeah, go to your little conferences, do all your little things. Like, and they kind of start poking fun, making fun of that. And it's like, it's okay. You know, I bet you wouldn't like it if we made fun of your life or, you know, your habits and what you're doing, right? And but I don't, you know, I don't do that, you know. So it's one of those things, like, if you guys want to have that, you know, be like that, that's okay. I'm not going to judge that, but I'm just not going to consistently be around that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers it or not.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like for me, I would say the two things that stick out to me the most are constant situations where someone is like the victim. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I'm constantly having these same conversations of, oh, I'm in this situation and it's so, like, it's so terrible and it's always the other person's fault, right? Yeah. And I'm not, like, there's a difference between, like, having an issue and talking about it and then, like, having consistent issues and then always talking about that, and I'm always having to address all of their issues. You know, nothing about me and my life and my issues ever get addressed. Correct. That is like a total fucking energy suck. I hate that.
That's the thing, is like value, right? You're bringing value to that person.
Yes, and that's where I have to cut it off. There's nothing wrong with, you know, having an issue and coming to your business friend about it. It's constant issues in every single sector of your life over and over again, and no, you know, the relationship is me constantly addressing issues in that person, and then the issues within me that I have are never addressed. So to your point, we're not adding value.
Correct.
I'm just constantly adding value to that person, and they're just sucking the life out of me.
Correct.
So that one's a big one. And then conversations where I feel like what I'm saying is not registering. Like, it's being taken in a way that I don't that I'm not intending. Like, someone is hearing me completely differently than what I'm actually saying. And I feel like those are just things that you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
You know? Versus there are people where it's like, obviously, like, remember when we were with Bree the other day, Bree and Aaron, and they were like, Bree goes, oh, you're just like someone who just mean what they say and says what they mean. I'm like, yeah. Literally. Yeah. So I feel like those are just things that you kind of learn as you go through.
Well, yeah,
and
that's
kind of pick those things out.
You know, like, as you get older, you start recognizing those things. Right, and that's why sometimes, like, you know, I mean, I think when you're first become an adult in your early 20s or whatever, like, you don't really realize those things, right? So it's harder for somebody to, you know, for a 20-year-old to sit there and have a full-on conversation with maybe somebody in their 30s or 40s, right? Because they just don't understand that quite yet, right? It's not as like, I don't want to say, like, it's just more rare, right, for someone to have that kind of mindset. Versus when you get into, like, closer into our age, like, where we figured those things out, right? Where it's like, okay, you know, we can't just sit there and talk about all of our problems and try to, like, figure out, okay, I got time with this person. Like, let's ask them all the questions in the world and just figure it all out. You know, it's like, okay, let's be strategic with this, and let's say, okay, we've talked about this. Now be aware and say, okay, talk, like, what can you do for that person, right? Because again, like, exactly what you're saying is, if you continuing to give and give and give and give, like at some point in time, like again, we're all I think a lot of people are givers, and everybody wants to do that, but it gets exhausting.
It does.
And then if you get around another group or another person, and maybe that person does, give you value, right? Where you can sit there and talk about and ask for all of those, situations, but then you can give back. I'm sorry. Let me take that back, step back. It's like, let's say you're with somebody and they're always asking you about what you can, like how you can help them, right? You're always providing value to them, right?
Yeah.
Even though you are a giver, like that's a good thing to be able to provide for somebody. At some point in time, it's going to get exhausting.
Yeah.
And then if you pair that with, you go to have a conversation with somebody else and you're still able to offer value to that person, because that's what you want to do, but then they turn that around and say, what can I do for you? Then it's mutual. Then you have a mutual conversation where both parties are bringing value to the conversation. Yes. And then it's like, oh, wow. Like, and you might not have known that what you were dealing with before was even like a bad conversation until you have a conversation like that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, shit. Then you kind of start leaning towards more of those conversations.
Right.
And these conversations just kind of start getting pushed out because you don't have time for that.
They're just naturally like unattractive.
Correct. And it's nothing against that, and it sucks, but I mean, just like relationships, like in marriages, like people, I feel like I've heard people say like, well, my spouse wasn't the same as what she was when we first got together. That's what you want. Yeah. You're going to grow, you're going to get better, and you either grow together or you grow apart.
Sounds like she grew and you didn't.
Exactly. So, and I think that goes with friendships as well, and relationships just in general.
Yeah.
You have to continue to move that, to move forward there. Because if not, again, it's not like it's like you want to do that, right? And you can still have those friends, you can still be there, but it just might not be as consistent.
Yeah.
So
I feel like those things are, for me, like have been really hard in situations where it's family.
Yep.
like
Family's the hardest.
that's a hard one.
Yeah. Because you think, oh, well, it's family. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, that's what society and media says. Correct. Well, that's your so-and-so, and that's your blah, and that's this, and it's like...
Well, and then you're gonna get to a spot where you have enough conversations like we just talked about, like where it is healthy and it's, you have value on each side, and then you're not gonna feel as exhausted. So then maybe you can pick and choose those conversations where maybe you don't get the most value out of.
Yeah.
And you can put more of that energy towards a family member, or towards whatever that looks like, another friend or whatever. Because like I don't like making it sound like you just give up on those relationships.
No way.
But at some point in time, there's a time in your life, or in my opinion, where you start kind of refocusing that energy towards other things, because you want to get to that spot. And once you have completely got into a good routine and you have good momentum in that spot, that opens up, just like when they say like, money isn't everything, right? Like money doesn't buy you happiness. It doesn't, right? It doesn't buy you happiness. But what it does allow you to do is it allows you not to stress about money.
Yeah.
And if you can take one stress off of your plate, that's just more energy that you can have towards other things in your life to make better, right? So same thing, like if you have all these other good conversations and relationships, and then there is one other relationship where, you're the only one offering value, or you're the only one listening, that's okay. Like, have that. Like, it's not going to consume you, right? Because you have these other good conversations.
Right. Yeah.
That's my thoughts. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but.
Yeah, it does make sense. And I definitely don't agree with just throwing in the towel.
Correct. Yeah.
It just takes time to kind of like navigate the challenges, but this has been good.
It's been great.
Well, what do you think about episode number 80?
Episode 80 was good. We're 20 away from 100, right?
If my math is correct.
Math is math. It's Friday. It's 2:00. We're gonna have some. What do we got moving forward? We're gonna have some pretty good people on. We got a real estate guy coming on next week. Me and another guy are going to be talking about mental health, men's mental health. So that'll be a good conversation.
That'll be a really good one.
That'll be next Saturday. So yeah, I'm excited. We're going to have some good people on for some good interviews.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We will catch you in episode 81.
Let's do it.